Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 6 of our F124 Salvaging Sauber career mode. Yes, we return this weekend here to the duel in the Formula 1 crown. It's ready for the Monaco Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago, I would highly recommend going back and checking out the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. It's safe to say it was the return to form we needed so far this year. It's been an up and down campaign so far. We either win, apparently, or finished around the points or DNF in Australia's case as well there. Max Verstappen leads the World Championship though on 85 points, just 6 clear of Sergio Perez. Oscar Piastri in P3 ahead of Lando Norris there, and there we are, just tucked up in P5 as well. It means constructors wise there is 1 point in it between your top 2 teams in the Constructors' Championship right now. We at Sauber are in a bit of a lonely P5. Bottas still yet to get off the mark so far this year, but he has had a couple of stronger looking races in recent times. But of course, Monaco this weekend, anything can happen around this venue. It's one of my favourite circuits in the F1 game, and I think in Cockpit Cam, it is a very, very different experience as well. Get yourself subscribed. We're trying to hit 7k subs before F125 comes out as well. But yeah, without further ado then, let's head down to the track. Well, the most important qualifying session of the year then is about to be done and dusted in about 70 seconds. Down in towards turn 1. We've got to try and get a good lap on the board today. We need to get a better qualifying performance out of this Sauber car. We've been very good in race pace, and we did pretty well last weekend at Imola as well, so hoping kind of the flyaway leg to kickstart the year is just going to have been, you know, ideally our weakest part of the entire season. But Red Bull have looked very good through free practice. You can never count McLaren out. And of course, Charles Leclerc at his home race as well will always want to try and put on a show. But what can we do in this car? I often seem to struggle a little bit more in the opening half of the lap. And then it's the second half where the really high downforce stuff comes into effect. That we seem to be a little bit stronger there. Try not to nudge the wall. So easy to rip off the inside wheel. Down in towards that chicane, but down through to back, not even downshifting anymore. These ground effect cars, so much grip there as well. We nudge the wall, going through the transition between the 2 chicanes. Down in towards Raskas we go there again, just skim the wall with the rear wheel. Try and get the car to straighten out a little bit better, and again, it's not been a particularly great qualifying effort here. P13 in the car at a 109.6. It felt competitive, but just not enough. Well, quite a few surprises then up and down the grid. Lando Norris will claim pole position there ahead of the home hero Charles Leclerc with Alonso in P3. Verstappen just ahead of Perez. Lance Stroll up in P6 there ahead of Carlos Sainz. Gasly getting up inside the top 10. Myself and Oscar Piastri, though, both really struggling down in P13 and P14 respectively. Half a second off pole, only lands me P13 there. That's a little bit disappointing, but we still went 3/10 quicker than Bottas. 27 laps ahead of us, though. Let's see what we can do.
A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That's how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but we still race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean. There is no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix. The astonishing Circuit de Monaco is, for all intents and purposes, virtually unchanged since its inaugural race back in 1929. The faster cars of today ensure the 19 corners past the casino and along the seafront remain as thrilling as ever. A 2.1-mile lap here takes us around an entire country, yet never more than a few inches away from the race-ending barriers. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Perez, Stroll, Sainz, Gasly, Russell, Hamilton, Ocon, Tsunoda, Mr. Monaco, Oscar Piastri, Verstappen, Hulkenberg, Joe, Ricciardo, Bottas, Albon, and Logan Sargent. That's it then. It's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me is Anthony Davidson. Okay, the start, so important. Tell us about how you ace a launch off the line.
The drivers these days, They practice, practice and practice. They have rigs with them at the circuit where they can sit down with the actual steering wheel from the real car, and they've got lights that they react to. The clutch paddle is tailored around the driver's hands, around their fingers, so they can have optimum position before they start. So there's so much thought and effort that goes into getting these cars off the line.
With this being a high downforce circuit, we're not going to have quite the same top speed we have at other tracks. The good news is, though, it's going to make our DRS even more effective than normal. So try to make the most of it during the race and quali if you can.
Well, there we go. Anthony Davidson trying to explain how you get the best start in Formula 1, and we're going to need one lining up in P12 here. But big news coming into the race, though. Max Verstappen with a 10th-place grid drop, so we have an opportunity to take points out of the World Championship leader. In your top 5 in the World Championship, only Perez starts inside the top 10. Of course, the winner here back in 2022. But let's see what we can do then. We need to try and get a good start off the lights as we wait then on the grid. Those 5 red lights are on. And it's going to be lights out and away we go then. I was scared for a moment that I might have just jumped the start slightly. It's not a huge amount of wheel spin in towards turn 1. An avenue, though, will form around the outside there and immediately up into the top 10. So a pretty good start, actually. By my standards here on F124, and I'm not going to complain about that one then. Sort of rubbing up against the wall ever so slightly up through the top of the circuit. But yeah, doing very well then to try and gain a couple of places there, and we'll even try and get a third down the inside of Hamilton in towards Upper Mirabeau there. Make sure we give the 7-time champ a little bit of room on the inside, then immediately we'll try and go on the offensive against his teammate as well. So yeah, not a bad start in this Grand Prix. I've immediately realised, though, what I said at the start about Perez being the only of your top 5 in the top 10, a top 5 in the World Championship and your top 10 on the grid, is wrong, because A, we're now inside that top 10, and B, Lando Norris took pole, of course, so not quite sure how I forgot that one, but there we are. Making our way, though, down in towards the final sector of lap 1. Of course, this place, though, is very much about just getting into a rhythm, but also trying to make sure you look after the tyres as well. There was Russell, actually a little bit slow on the entry to the final couple of corners. Thought about looking for a move on him there as Hamilton tried to go back for a run on me at the final turn. Yep, I know how DRS works, thank you, Mark. But yeah, the Mercedes not looking fantastic here. But I know I've spoke about it many times before on this game as well, about the immersion aspect of racing in the cockpit camera. I really do hope they make some tweaks with it for F125, but we've kind of been hoping for that for years, because obviously cockpit cam works to a certain point on this game. It's just the mirrors are the really annoying bit still, which I've moaned about so many times already. But yeah, especially around a circuit like Monaco, I think you suddenly get an appreciation for it. I think on most of the street circuits, you kind of get more of an appreciation for what these guys are doing IRL, you know, when you're just trying to work out where the front of the car is and everything like that. And also, you know, if you're daring enough to try and go for moves, yes, the game is far more forgiving, of course, and yes, you can actually go for overtakes, which is near impossible in IRL Formula 1, but yeah, there's so many things the Cody's F1 games still do right, but just not right enough. It's really frustrating. Either way, as everybody has settled down into a rhythm fairly early on here, Gasly just has not got the speed to keep up with the guys in front of him, so we need to try and start making some moves again, as George Russell not getting a particularly great run out of the final corner there. Luckily, obviously turn 1 is horrible, where it tightens up. You really do feel like the car in front can make their car even wider than normal. But yeah, I mean, normally you have to go for a really interesting and brave strategy around this venue, or you try and do what we did to Hamilton earlier on there, rattle up against the Armco ever so slightly is all we thought about having a look back down the inside of George. But yeah, Russell there able to defend that one pretty well. But now we're in his head. Now he knows I can be a bit of a maniac around here. Come on then, let's see if we can get another run on Russell back in towards turn 1. Oh, down the inside. Nope, that's not going to happen. So we try to avoid doing any major damage to the car. And now I'm stuck in the escape road. No, come on. Gotta get going again. There you go, there's a gap. Oh no, it's not. Ooh, Logan Sargent there did a very good job to avoid us. And somehow no safety car or anything for that one. but I have completely screwed myself over. Just wanted to try and get down the inside of George. Realised that we were never going to make the corner, so did a good job not to lose the wing. But that has been an absolute disaster, and now we've got a huge amount of work to do. Well, luckily it hasn't taken us long to rock back up to the gearbox of Logan Sargent, but if I start struggling to find a way around the American, then we're definitely going to have to pit a bit earlier than I would want to in this Grand Prix. Let's see what we can do out of that final corner. Try and get the power down nice and tidy, try to avoid the wheel spin. Definitely already struggling a little bit with overheating on the rear tyres there, but just see how much that Williams car is struggling to make our way back up the hill as we will try and find an avenue to the inside. There we will go. A little bit aggressive, but Sargent luckily spots us, gives us the room. And back then into P19. Well, after we've navigated Logan Sargent, we finally rocked up to the back of his teammate here, Alex Albon. Now the next car on the old hit list, as we are really just trying to take everything out of this set of tyres before we decide to pit. I was tempted to try and box early, but I want to try and go late and have an advantage in the second half of the Grand Prix. Tyre temp isn't actually looking that bad. There you go, Mark just confirming that as well. The only thing we have got to be careful of is hitting the walls. There's Team Wallace in then at the end of this lap, but I'm going to try and take these tyres to about the end of 15 or 16 there as well. Just saw a window to the inside of Albon, and luckily he will kind of expect the move to happen there and make sure he gave me a little bit of space. Probably didn't deserve to, and well, up into 18th we go. This is just a very, very depressing weekend for Williams. Just sat at the back, kind of just trying to survive and hoping for chaos in front.
Keep that in mind as you approach.
Oh, there we go. A few cars starting to dive into the pit lane then, so we can have a bit more clear air. And what would be ideal for me is as we come back out then just ahead of one of the Aston Martins, a red flag or a safety car in the next couple of laps would be absolutely fantastic news, but not going to hold my breath for one of those here. To be honest, this series actually, for the most part, has remained fairly unchaotic, so maybe today's the chance for some chaos. I kind of cause most of it, though. There we go, Bottas and Ricciardo both peeling into the pit lane as well then, so... Oh, I mean, look how much we're struggling with the rear tyres now. There's no idea what position we're going to be up to. No! Oh, that's not what we needed. Just nudging the front wing ever so slightly. And oh, someone's trying to look down the inside there. Didn't even notice that was happening. That is, I think, Fernando Alonso then. That has just barged his way through. So Alonso's got a pit stop margin on me at this stage of the Grand Prix. And, well, that's really not good for us at the moment. I think the front wing damage should be okay. But the side pod damage, definitely not ideal. And, oh, we don't have many crashes on this game, but a lot of them seem to come with Fernando. Admittedly, this and, well, Abu Dhabi at the end of last year were both my fault. But, yeah, very, very weird. Well, last year here we tried to box short to make the strategy work. This time around we're doing the exact opposite and trying to go long to find ourselves an advantage towards the end of the afternoon. But into the pits then we'll go at the end of lap 15. We are still going to have a lot of work to do throughout the rest of this Grand Prix. But, on the other hand, we are going to have fresher, softer tyres than everybody else, so let's just hope for a nice, clean, tidy pit stop, as we will slowly drop back out of the top 10 then. But come on, team, give me a fast stop, please, I beg. It's looking okay. Yeah, that was alright. Maybe we've got the undercut on, also the overcut on a couple of people as well. We'll have to wait and see on pit exit. As there goes Bottas, there goes, I believe, Zhou and Ricciardo, so no, we've not been able to do that against anybody there. We do still come out back in P18, but it's going to be a long final few laps here, and this is the only problem we've got so far this year. We are trying to drive the car so hard to fight with those front runners, and occasionally it works, but a lot of the time it doesn't.
Okay, we think the underbody's incurred some slight damage, but nothing too serious at the moment. Just be careful.
They're trying to utilise the soft compound tyres nice and quickly there to the inside of Daniel Ricciardo. Make sure we give him the room on the exits. He's going to try and fight back. But again, getting the power down through the exit at the corner there. And I think, did he might have just jumped over the chicane, hence why he gave that up. But immediately then making an impact once more. And past a former Monaco Grand Prix winner. I'm certainly going to try and see if we can make the same move happen 2 laps in a row. To the inside of Zhou Guanyu, we're going to try and have a look then in this race. That was a little bit more sketchy. Just locked the rear slightly, but we avoided the walls. Yeah, Mark, we constantly get those. Give it over, mate. Hoping the team will just tell Valtteri that I'm behind him. I'm much, much quicker and that he'll let us out of the way. But this is F124. I'm not optimistic that the Flying Finn is going to try and do that. So we'll certainly still try and get a run on him, though, to the inside on the brakes. Way too hard in. Can we try and let him by without losing anything else? Yes, we can. So we'll have to try and go for it somewhere else then. Of course, identical machinery to our teammate here, so always going to be more difficult to get a run on him than perhaps a lot of other cars, but surely with the DRS back into turn 1, as long as they don't mess up the run out of the final corner, we can try and do something there. Try to avoid the wheel spin as best as we can, but again, you can just see we don't quite get close enough in towards that first corner. We really do try and open up the apex, though, relative to a lot of the other drivers here. Can we try and look like what we did to the Williams? Yes, we can. Oh, just a little bit of wheel banging there with our teammate. See, once again, does give us the room, but around him we shall go. Up into P15. Could we still score points today? No!
Are you okay? That was a big one. Confirm you're okay, please.
Well, we've had a tyre to the face, but out of nowhere, we are going to be out of the Monaco Grand Prix. And I said you've got to be so careful of the walls around here. And you can just see coming up through the top of the hill. Just misjudged it by about half a tyre width there. So barely a few inches, but that is the difference between victory and defeat around the circuit. I mean, you can see I didn't even hit the front wing. The front wing has remained intact. That's just how close we were on that barrier there. That the lip of the tyre outside of the front wing has been the bit that's come off in that accident. But I guess the kind of silver lining of that is that we weren't scoring points anyway this afternoon. But for the first time ever, I think, in this series, we have crashed out of a Grand Prix. And of course, it has to happen here in Monte Carlo.
The wait is over. Lando Norris takes the checkered flag.
I mean, it looked like they were in a different category at points during the race, led every lap. I mean, what more can we say?
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they've secured here.
Well, there we are then, Lando Norris, a dominant drive here in Monte Carlo. Pole position, fastest lap, and race victory there. And I believe apparently he led every single lap as well from this afternoon's running. Fernando Alonso in P2 ahead of Charles Leclerc. Sergio Perez in 4th ahead of Sainz and Lance Stroll, with Gasly, Russell, Hamilton and Max Verstappen recovering to a top 10 finish. But our second DNF from the first 6 races this year. We need to be better if we want to be trying to fight for the World Championship. Still 10 more races to go. A lot can change in that time, but we need to start delivering there. As Sergio Perez leads the World Championship, 5 clear of Verstappen, who was a further 3-point margin over his teammate Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc now up at a P4, very consistent so far this year, ahead of Oscar Piastri, myself, and Fernando Alonso as well there. Constructors-wise, Red Bull now with a 16-point buffer ahead of McLaren. Ferrari now comfortably ahead of Mercedes, and with that podium for Alonso, Aston Martin re-jump kick Sauber as well. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We will come back stronger. We will return better and faster. We'll be back very soon ready for the Canadian Grand Prix.